All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, ready for Beach Break, AEW Dynamite Beach Break going down on May the 14th. It is a stacked card. Samoa Joe and Jon Moxley stepping into that steel cage, but a match that really has my attention and clearly has the attention of the internet wrestling community by proxy as Ricochet readies to face Zach Gowen this Wednesday. And great having Zach on Bowks Talking Bouts today. How are you doing, man?
I'm amazing. Never better. The past 4 or 5 days have been an absolute whirlwind and a dream come true. And I am enjoying every single moment of it, including this interview with you, Dylan. Thank you for having me and thank you for the interest and thank you for the kind words.
I mean, that's really interesting to hear. You have such an intriguing career. Like the interest is definitely there for me and so many subjects to cover, but it just seems like you're in such a great place. Like it seems like you're in a very like grounded yet present kind of mindset for sure. And I imagine just like when you were, in the earlier part of your career, it was such a whirlwind, like all the big names you worked with, etc. Like maybe you couldn't really be as present or appreciate it quite as much. This must be like a great pocket for you to be in right now.
No, that's absolutely the truth. You hit the nail on the head, Dylan. Um, when I was in WWE, 22 years ago, I guess at this point, a freaking lifetime ago, half of the fans watching AEW weren't even born yet when I was in WWE, which is amazing to me, which is another level to my gratitude to be able to share my story and perform for them too, the new generation of wrestling fans who share the exact same passion that I've had my entire life. But at 20 years old, just so trying desperately to keep my head screwed on straight and trying to not mess up and trying to, not lose what I was given. It didn't allow me to appreciate the moment and appreciate the gift that was being handed to me, and I think with age and maturity, and I think with life experience, and I think with a whole new perspective on what this whole journey that we're on is about. To be able to, to go from a week ago, this wasn't even a thought, performing on AEW on this stage. It wasn't even a thought for me. And to now be in it, it's like, wow, this is really, really, really special for me and for my family. And I'm so eternally grateful to Tony Khan for being an absolute maniac, for thinking way outside the bun, and saying, "Hey, what if we do something with Zach Gowen?" And I'm blown away, dude.
It sounds like based on how you laid it out that this opportunity, came about pretty quickly. Like it seemed like a whirlwind kind of experience. Like when did the dialogue really ramp up to like, get you doing that, collision taping and then this subsequent match with Ricochet on Dynamite? Like when did the dialogue and discourse with AEW start to ramp up?
Um, it was on Wednesday in Detroit where they taped Dynamite. And a buddy of mine who works at AEW, and I'm so grateful to have really good relationships with a lot of people in the wrestling industry because at a certain point in my career that statement wasn't true. Um, I saw a buddy of mine was in town, and I asked him if he wanted to go to lunch. And that conversation just kind of evolved into saying, "Hey, what if I pitched this idea for you?" And I'm like, "Oh, maybe, sure." But here's the thing: I've been pitched to AEW, I've been pitched to TNA, I've been pitched to WWE uh, dozens of times over the past 20 years, and nothing ever comes of it. And so when I hear that, it doesn't really get me all that excited because it's just another like, yeah, hey, we'll throw my name out there and see if there's any interest, which I didn't really expect there would be. And so that conversation evolved to what you saw on Thursday when we did Collision live. I didn't even know it was live. I thought it was taped for Saturday, but because of the schedule and the NBA playoffs, right before we do it, we're like, "Hey, we're going live," and I'm like, "Oh my God, I haven't done live TV ever." I think the last live TV that I did was uh, when I wrestled Matt Hardy at No Mercy 2003. And so that was so that was just amazing, man. And That's how the wrestling business works, though. That's not all that uncommon of something coming up last minute or changes happening and just kind of rolling with it, and the ones that can adapt and make magic, those are the ones that seem to thrive the most in that environment.
Yeah, in a way, it has like certain hallmarks to some prior like angles you've been involved with. Like it's like there's slight differences and nuances to it, but just like that idea of like you getting, beaten in front of your family and like I mean, the fact that he went the extra length of stealing your leg. Like my friend's girlfriend, Hannah, is getting more into wrestling lately, and she's like, I thought I've seen it all. They're stealing people's legs nowadays and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, to the point of exposing yourself to new fans too. So just
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, Ricochet leg napped me or something like that. And and that's what I love about pro wrestling is that you can have because AEW has the best wrestlers. They have the best athletes. They put on the best matches. And we top to bottom, we can name them, but we'd be here all morning. Um, but what I love about pro wrestling is uh um like the buffet, so to speak. Like we give a little bit, it's entertaining, it's funny, it's emotional, it pulls at your heartstrings, it's magnificent with the athletes, it's all of that kind of put into one beautiful package, which is why I believe that professional wrestling is the best form of entertainment on the earth. More so than movies, more so than TV shows, more so than video games, because you have literally everything. And the best part, it's all done live. It's live, and you never know what's going to happen. And so it's really the audience that makes pro wrestling what pro wrestling is. And, without that interaction, and we saw it during COVID, without that interaction, you're just watching a couple of, talents just wrestle in the ring, and it's just not the same. And so to be able to be a part of that and tap into that magic once again, and do something kind of silly and outside the box with with Ricochet stealing my leg, man. I think that's awesome, man. I think it's fun.
And to your point of, I guess like emotional multiplicity of wrestling, like I felt like the promo that you did with your sons on the steps was something that really got a lot of positive feedback. And it was probably a big thing for you, anecdotally, even, I would think, just in your personal journey. Because I was seeing some other interviews where you were like, oh, I used to get like so anxious when they'd ask me to do promos back in the day. And it would be like all I would think about. But I mean, obviously, a lot that you've done subsequent as a motivational speaker, I would think would refine your abilities as an orator. But yeah, it seemed like that recent promo you did with your sons really elicited a big reaction. And I would think, based on that anecdotal journey I outlined, that would have been like a big thing for you, I would think, at least.
Yeah, it was it was awesome, man. I and that's one of that wasn't that wasn't in the rundown either. It was just like kind of a like, hey, why don't we, since my kids are here and since we did this, and the match is announced, let's follow up with some content. And so we had all the production people there. We had the cameras, the lights, and all of this, and my kids were sitting next to me, and um I had a wave of like PTSD because there was one time I was in I think it was in Milwaukee, and I had to do a pre-tape in WWE, and I just couldn't deliver what they wanted. I couldn't. I was either messing up the lines, or I was too nervous, or I wasn't delivering it correctly, and it was just like, all right, cut, all right, cut, all right. It went on for half hour, and I just felt the pressure of like, hey, we have to wrap this up so we can move on with what with the other stuff that we have to do. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And I had this flashback to like that moment, and I'm like, wait, can I do this? Waves of self-doubt and fear came over me, and then my next thought was, yeah, I can do this. I can. I'm not who I was 22 years ago. Nobody is. There's a lot of growth, and this is coming from a real place with having my children there and what I try to instill in them in terms of values, and how can I connect that to what this angle is with Ricochet. And it just rolled off my tongue, and we delivered it, and I thought I was proud of it. So thank you for saying that.
No problem. I was gonna say I thought maybe you got PTSD from being on the stairs and having like Brock Lesnar flashbacks or something.
No, God, no. God, no. That was a fun day. Doing that with Brock. I mean, and what's cool about that too is that's the one thing most old school fans remember me for. So if I meet somebody at the gym or at the airport or something and they're a fan and they're like, "Hey, tell me about the time Brock Lesnar threw you down the stairs." And I think that's really neat to be able to create a moment that has lived on for all these years that people still can recall. Like, how cool is that?
And it's funny you say that because I put out on my social media that I would be talking to you today, and my one friend B-Man got really excited, and he was kind of wondering about that specific Brock experience. So, kind of speaks to your point of just how much of an indelible memory that was, and just yeah, what a wild time for sure. Like I never really pieced it together at the time, but as like an older kind of wrestling fan now, just this idea of like how long you were in the business for and a lot of the stuff you were doing at the time, like, gigging for the first time on live TV and doing that angle with Brock and your mom. I mean, that's like a wild kind of thing. You'd never see something like that in like the modern
Never.
landscape, one would think, right?
No, of course not. No, never. We were figuring it out live, as you saw every week. What I was doing with Brock and the Big Show and Vince um and Hogan and Piper and all of that. We were flying by the seat of our pants. Like I said, the pro wrestling business can be that way sometimes. Where it's like, hey, what do we have and what can we do? How can we get the most out of it? But that was an experiment because I didn't understand. I had less than 15 matches before I had that match with the Big Show in WWE. Can you imagine? And then a month or two later, I'm wrestling Vince McMahon live on pay-per-view in a main event. And this is before. I don't know for sure. You would probably know better than I, but this is before, the era of like outside celebrities coming into WWE and them like practicing their matches, so to speak, before an event. Like, no, we didn't do any of that. One, how does somebody on one leg wrestle? How does somebody wrestle somebody on one leg? How do we make it make sense? How do we tell a story? How do we do all of this? Meanwhile, Hogan is leaving, Piper gets fired. The angle keeps changing from week to week to week, and it's just like it was just such a wild ride. And to your point earlier, I wasn't in a position to be like, oh, this is so great. No, it was freaking terrifying. It was terrifying. But this past week with AEW is the complete opposite. And so to be able to bookend my career like this is just like, man, it's something that movies, are made for. And stories like this, man, and I get to live it, and that's my real life, and I think that's incredible.
No, I mean, so well said, man. And I guess that kind of got me thinking of something that I had only kind of contemplated recently, even in as far as like doing my research for this interview with you, because I was seeing in my research that you trained with Truth Martini, and obviously a well-traveled individual can teach you, the great fundamentals of the business, but at the same time, you're also interfacing with that and trying to personalize it to your own situation, being that you have one leg. So how did you, I guess, go about, I guess, I'm trying to find the perfect word to phrase it, not monitoring per se, but kind of like having that confluence of like really learning those fundamentals and absorbing the psychology of the business, but also figuring out how to personalize it to your set of considerations.
I'm going to be 100% honest with you, Dylan. I don't know what confluence means, but I'm going
Just
to
the
try to answer.
combination.
I'm going to try to answer your question either way. I think I get it.
Okay.
Well said, man. Um, here's the thing. I've always been a really good athlete. And I'm one of those athletes where I don't need a whole lot of instruction. If I see it visually, I can translate that into what I can and can't do in terms of my body and space. And there's, evidence of that throughout my career and on, American Ninja Warrior back in the day when I competed on that show. And I just have, I was blessed from a very young age to be able to um, have control and move my body in safe and athletic ways. So, But in terms of learning, what you're asking is learn, how did I learn how to work? And that came with experience. No wrestler really truly understands what makes the wrestling business or what makes wrestling special and what makes it work until they're 7, 8, 9 years in. And that's from working on a consistent basis for that period of time. That's when it starts to click and start to make sense. But for me, I was no different. It took me 7, 8, 9, 10 years on the indies every single weekend, getting in the car, traveling and working on my craft to get to the point where I was able to be comfortable in what I can and can't do and what works and why it works and what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. And so now I'm at a position where my brain has all of this knowledge. And to your point too, it's fun. I've been doing a lot of coaching at shows all over the country and working with younger talent, and which is to honestly way more fun for me than going out and performing because I've been doing that for so long. Not to sound ungrateful that I get the opportunity tomorrow, but what I love is taking the knowledge that I've accumulated over these 22, 23, 24 years and framing it in a way that new talent can understand and go out and execute and watch them do it and then see that light come on inside of them. It's like, wow. What's really fun for me is to be able to coach these matches, right? And I say to myself, okay, what would I do here? And then I say to myself, no, 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 no. What would I do here if I had two legs? Right? And so like I can because I know what to do, but in wrestling I'm so limited in terms of my physical abilities, but to be able to manifest those thoughts into reality with these younger talents and have them learn, man, that to me is like that's like the best part of wrestling for me right now.
Yeah, and I guess in a similar kind of vein, like in terms of like paying it forward to the business or like involving some positive altruistic effort. I saw circa like October 2023, you promoted a show, and I thought it was so cool that it raised $9,000 for sensory rooms for kids with autism. Like just an incredible thing there, man. And yeah, it kind of fits within that a little bit, I thought, at least.
Yeah, for me for doing that, co-promoting that show, it was all about how can I bring the magic of professional wrestling and utilize that to help an underserved population. And thanks to the relationships that I've built around my hometown of Detroit, all the pieces came together. I put the bat signal out and I asked for help and help came, you know. Yeah, that was a really fun show. We want to do another one. It was called a Champion for a Cause Promotions presents The Heart of the Matter. We had Bret Hart there. And right now I'm working on getting my nonprofit status for Champion for a Cause so that we can do it all over and streamline that process and use pro wrestling as an avenue to help populations from all over.
Yeah, it's just such a cool thing. I love when, pro wrestling can be attached to different efforts like that. It's just really an incredible sort of thing for sure, man. Like that, those kind of efforts seem like they would be very close to your heart, understandably so.
100%. And we know how amazing professional wrestling is, right? But it's still like this weird, like little secret that the outside public who is not privy to the knowledge, they don't really want to touch. They kind of want to avoid. They're kind of like, is it violent? Is it risque? Is it, all this stuff? And it's like, no, we can present professional wrestling in a way. Once you come to a live show, like you're gonna be a fan forever. So it's on me to be able to get to the general public and say, hey, listen, it is pro wrestling. Trust me, it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. You can bring the whole family. Most importantly, it's for a good cause. We're bringing the community together. And once you're there, you're going to realize that this is the best thing ever. So I'm trying to grow pro wrestling in my community while also trying to help other people, man. And it's really just a match made in heaven.
Yeah, it's been a long road for you since the days of watching Ric Flair win the 92 Rumble and getting right into it, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, 2 weeks after my amputation, my grandmother ordered the 92 Royal Rumble for me as a welcome home gift because I that was the day they finally let me out of the hospital. And so it was, in one sense, the most scariest, lowest point of my life. But in another sense, being able to tap into the magic of professional wrestling for those 3 hours, watching that event, thank God it was an amazing event. You know what I mean? Thank God it was the one of the best events WWE ever created. I was able to forget the pain that I was in from the cancer, from the leg amputation, or from feeling different or weird, or what's going to happen to my life. I was able just to, pro wrestling at that point was a lifeboat for me, and there were many instances throughout my life where pro wrestling was a lifeboat for me. And so I'm so happy and grateful that I'm able to share my passion and my love of professional wrestling with a whole new audience, man. And it's been an amazing ride.
And something that I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about, because I actually just the other day recently rewatched your match that you had with Mr. McMahon, and I was showing it to someone who hasn't had the opportunity to see it before. And I don't know, I guess maybe it didn't resonate prior times that I watched it, but it really struck me on commentary when Michael Cole said that I guess Make a Wish had approached you, and you were like, no, I don't need that. Like, respectfully, I don't need that because I'm not gonna die. Like, that just hit me in such a big way. Like at just such a young age, like where does this kind of, I guess, resilience, assuredness, bravery, like whatever operative word you want to use for that, like where did that come from? That just really struck me.
Comes from my mom. That's it. It's my mom, My father left us when I was 4. And my mom was didn't work and was uneducated and didn't have a whole lot of options. And we lived in government housing, and she did what she had to do to put a roof over my head and to put food in my belly and to keep me safe. And she made so many sacrifices and worked so hard to put me in a position to have a life was she never had, or she never had the option of having. And so you can imagine that happening when I was a young child, and then the cancer deal. And it's like, how much can a mother go through with their kid? And so in terms of resilience, and in terms of um, being able to hit certain low points but not give up, and in terms of being able to just hold on for one more day, in terms of being able to develop the ability to reach out and ask for help and to take help and to help other people, all of that people see in me did not originate in me at all. It came from directly from my mother. And so I always say that, I've had many victories in my life, um, but my victories are not mine. They're the result of the people that poured into me, people that invested in me, people that believed in me, people that picked me up when I fell down, people that wouldn't allow me to give up when I wanted to give up, because there were many times when I wanted to give up. And so all of my victories are their victories, not my own. And chief being, you know, not to steal a wrestling term, but at the head of the table is Mama, and so everything that I get comes from her.
Yeah, and I referenced the promo you did earlier where your sons were involved, and it just seems like in an overarching way, you're such a proud father, like really getting beyond, the situation of your father not being there for you in the way that you're there for your kids. Like, I mean, to the point of victories, I guess, for lack of a better word to phrase it, that has to be the biggest one of all, just breaking like a generational sort of thing like that. That's a massive thing, I would think, for you.
a, a multi-generational type of uh type of curse, and 1,000%. Uh, a lot of the time we learn what to do when the behavior is modeled for us. And it's like, oh, okay, this is this is how I move or approach a situation. But for some of us, we learn what to do um, by seeing other people not doing the right thing. We learn what to do. We just kind of do the opposite of that, and that was my approach in terms of fatherhood, which is, listen, I knew what my father did, and God bless him. I love him, and tragically he passed away a couple of years ago. and that we never had the chance to, reconnect or establish a relationship um, with a healthy foundation, unfortunately. And that to me that's sad. And that's not if we have the opportunity, we have this gift of life. For me, that tells me I have a responsibility to do something with it. I have to. And so my like to your point, Dylan, my greatest accomplishment isn't, climbing a mountain with amputees. It's not WWE, it's not AEW, it's not Ninja Warrior, it's not any of that. It's the fact that my four children have never seen their father drunk. They've never seen their father high. They've never seen their father be violent with their mother. They've never seen their dad not there, which is all I knew when I was their age. In other words, I'm able to provide a life for them that I never had by application of the principles of spiritual principles. In other words, I'm able to, draw the line in the sand to plant my flag to say, hey, it ends with me and it starts with me. To be that turning point in my lineage. Wow. So when people ask me, like, oh, are you nervous about AEW? No, I'm not nervous about AEW. I've already won. I've already won, dude. Like, this is just icing on the cake. This is just the confetti, man. This is just the party. This is just part of that. And so for me, man, it's been an incredible week. And the best part about all of it, Dylan, is that I get to share it with my kids. They're going to be all four of them, and my wife, and my mom. If you remember her from the Brock Lesnar angle back in the day. She will be in attendance at Dynamite. So I can't wait to see them. I'm going to see them later today. I'm going to hug and kiss them. And then I get to perform in front of my entire family, and I'm so grateful.
Oh man, I love that. That's so great. I guess like for some reason the way my brain kind of connected the dots there, like you mentioned your mom being part of what that angle back in the day, such a memorable instance. Like, and you had, I feel like such like a memorable song back in the day, which apparently was supposed to be for Kurt Angle initially, which I kind of thought was an interesting, I guess,
Yeah.
sidebar component. But are we gonna see Zach Gowen come out to some Seether on Wednesday, or is that something we need to tune into Dynamite to see?
Listen, I told Tony Khan, I go, I'm not showing up unless you got Caesar playing for me. You know what I mean? And he's like, Zach, I don't know if I can shell out the 100 grand to license it. But I don't, but I no, truthfully, I'm just joking. I didn't. I actually that was a thought. Like, I wonder what song or graphics they're going to use. I have no idea. So, hey, we're going to find out together tomorrow.
No, I love that, man. It's just so exciting. I feel like there's so many questions I want to ask you. I guess like something that I was noticing was that you've had quite a few matches with Jimmy Jacobs, and it seems like he's one of the great minds in the business. And I saw an interview where you described him as someone who was very close to Tony Khan. Like, I guess how much of the Jimmy Jacobs connection kind of played into this AEW connectivity, if at all?
Zero, zero. I separate. I compartmentalize relationships. And so when it comes to Jimmy Jacobs, he's been my best friend for a very, very long time. I've never felt comfortable approaching him and saying, "Hey man, can you pitch me?" or doing any kind of business because I don't want that to compromise our personal relationship. So for me, that's the priority,
Sure,
you
yeah.
know?
I guess I just
Yeah.
more meant if he had like referenced it to Khan or something of that persuasion, not that you would have put it out there like that. But yeah, no, I really think Jimmy Jacobs is one of the great minds in the business. And it's cool that you put it out there like that because I feel like the old guard of wrestling kind of had that mentality of like, oh, you either make friends or you make money. But it's like,
Yeah.
why can't I do both? And it seems like you're good at compartmentalizing those
Yeah.
things.
I'm not a brother type of guy. I'm not. I just am who I am. And I love everybody. And if we have a relationship to me, a relationship's way more important than any sort of money or opportunity or any chance to tickle my ego, because those are the things that really matter in life. And so um but yeah, I just, this is why it's so fun for me because there's no agenda for me. There's no like, hey, I wonder what this could lead to. I wonder if I could pitch an angle. I wonder if I can get a coaching job. I wonder if I can be a part of this. Like there's zero thoughts. There's tomorrow. We have today. Let's do the right thing today so that we can be in the position to do the right thing tomorrow. So that we can be in the position to do the right thing the next day. Like that is complete the mind, and whatever happens, happens, man. It's in God's hands, and I have complete and total faith in that.
Yeah, and that's why I've been trying to curate my questions in the way that I have, because I feel like sometimes just culturally we can be so preoccupied with what's next or what's this going to lead to. But I feel like something about this match, like it just really, I don't know, feels like you're getting your flowers in a way, like you're taking on a despicable individual, mind you, but one of the best wrestlers in the world. Like it seems like your story is being told really well. It just seems like you're getting your flowers and whatnot. So I imagine that would really, I guess, even in a compounded way, impart why you're so just focused and so present and everything.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. And because it's so unexpected. And and it's just like in terms, because I was at, I'll be honest with you, man. It took a long time to become at peace with my past in terms of professional wrestling. And it took a lot of work. And so to be able to reach a point where I'm at complete peace with my standing inside of the wrestling business, what if this happens, great. If it doesn't happen, that's fine too. To be able to get to that point of neutrality, and then to have this opportunity where it's like, man, this is beyond anything I could have ever asked for or hoped for. And that's why it's like as the kids say, it hits different. you know
Yeah, yeah.
like they're like, hey man, Sports Kitty wants to interview. I did, dudes. I love Sports Keeda, man. That's great. Like, what an awesome opportunity. And I don't know, man. I'm just at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful to be able to be part of this, or to be asked to be a part of this, and to share my story with the new generation. I think I think it's incredible.
Yeah, and I feel like I could ask you so many questions. I am also trying to be mindful of your time. I guess one of the last things I kind of wanted to touch on, because I noticed you wrestled a few matches over the years in a couple different promotions with Necro Butcher, who is one of the more interesting characters that I've experienced anecdotally watching wrestling. Like, what were your experiences like just having those matches and putting them together? Just the whole experience of working with someone like Necro Butcher, who's like a bit of a folklore kind of figure in pro wrestling in a way.
Yeah. I shoot, I've known Necro since 2002, man. Um, when I started, because he used to come to Michigan quite a bit and work for promotions where I was just like trying to break into. And he's always treated me well, and he's always been a very interesting guy to hang out with. Very interesting guy to go on road trips with. There are a few stories that I'm not gonna regale, now that I'm a father, married father of four, and I follow a spiritual path. But but let's just say there were some wild times. But getting in the ring with someone like him, um, was amazing, man, because certain guys have certain auras, and he had such a dangerous presence about it, and so that like heightened my sensitivity to like what's going on, and I think that adds to the element of danger in the match of like, oh my God, dude, is an Necro Butcher going to do something like really like, I know we're in front of 200 people right here, and the Insane Clown Posse are up next. You know what I mean? And so probably nothing crazy is good, but I don't know, dude. There's a guy with one leg there, and the Necro Butcher is coming out with a real life head of a pig from a butcher shop, and he's carrying it to the ring. And it's getting really violent. And so to me, that just taps into the magic of pro wrestling, of what it can be, and the element of surprise, and the element of like, oh my God, is this really happening? Which makes pro wrestling great. So I value my time with him for sure.
Well said, man. And to the prior point, I'm sure I could ask you an abundance of questions, but I do want to be mindful of your schedule. So I figured I'd give you the floor in case you maybe had any kind of final parting thought you were wanting to add as we're wrapping up, Zach. I appreciate you coming on Bowks Talking
I
Bouts today.
appreciate you, Dylan. Thanks, man. And no parting thoughts other than um, whoever's listening to this, ask yourself who you can help today without any need of recognition or reward, and take action on that. That would be my final thought. Other than that, if you'd like me to come speak at your school, work with your parents, teachers, students, anybody in your school district, please go to coolspeak.com, and I'd love to set up a visit with you.
Well, you continue to be a very inspiring figure. You've done a lot of inspiring things. And like I said, continue to do so. And the next chapter in that story is going to unfurl on May 14th. Super excited for AEW Dynamite Beach Break, man. I'm sure this match with Ricochet is going to be a banger, as the kids say. And yeah, again, thanks so much for coming on Bouts Talking Bouts. You have a good rest of your day. Hopefully, smooth travels. And yeah, I'll be checking out Dynamite on Wednesday, Zach. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate the interest and the time, dude.